Welcome to Chapter 3, Time, Energy, and Money. In this chapter, we'll explore the hidden currencies that shape true wealth. You'll discover how millionaires guard their hours like treasure, why they conserve energy for what matters most, and how focus, not luck, turns ordinary lives into extraordinary fortunes. By the end, you'll see that building wealth isn't just about managing money, it's about mastering life itself. The real currency of millionaires. When most people think about money, they think only in terms of dollars. They imagine that wealth is simply the result of earning more and spending less. While that's partly true, America's self-made millionaires revealed something much deeper. For them, money is just one form of currency. The others, time and energy, are even more important. The way they choose to use or waste these invisible currencies often determines whether they end up rich, broke, or somewhere in between. Think about it this way. Everyone, rich or poor, has the same 24 hours in a day, yet not everyone uses those hours in the same way. Millionaires, by and large, are deliberate about how they allocate their time. They understand that hours wasted on unproductive activities, whether that's mindless shopping, endless television, or social obligations designed only to impress others, are hours stolen from building their future. Every hour, every decision carries a cost. The wealthy recognize this and guard their time as fiercely as they guard their money. Take the example of a small business owner who became a millionaire, not because he had the highest paying clients, but because he managed his time better than his competitors. He spent his mornings on the activities that mattered most, meeting with customers, improving his services, and streamlining operations. He refused to spend his afternoons lost in distractions. He didn't let himself be consumed by gossip, idle chatter, or social events that drained his energy. His philosophy was simple. Time is an investment, and like money, it should produce returns. Millionaires are also protective of their energy. They understand that saying yes to every invitation, every obligation, and every demand leaves them exhausted, scattered, and unfocused. Instead, they learn to say no. They conserve their energy for the activities that matter most: family, business, and purposeful leisure. This is not about being selfish. It is about being strategic. Just as you wouldn't squander your money on every passing whim, you shouldn't squander your energy on every passing demand. The wealthy internalize this lesson early, and it becomes a guiding principle. Compare this to the lives of many underaccumulators of wealth, people with high incomes but little to show for it. They often fill their schedules with commitments that serve appearances rather than substance. They attend lavish parties, join expensive clubs, or spend entire weekends shopping, all in the name of looking successful. But in doing so, they drain their time and energy on activities that produce no return. Their calendars are full, but their bank accounts are not. They mistake activity for productivity, forgetting that not all uses of time are equal. Millionaires approach their calendars the way investors approach portfolios. They diversify wisely, they allocate carefully, and they prune ruthlessly. Hours are invested where they matter most: growing businesses, nurturing relationships, and maintaining health. They cut out or minimize the hours wasted on gossip, status competition, or mindless consumption. In this way, they turn time itself into an asset. One revealing statistic from the research was how millionaires spent significantly fewer hours shopping than their non-wealthy counterparts. To them, spending endless weekends wandering malls was a poor use of time and energy. They bought what they needed efficiently, often in bulk, and then turned their attention back to more valuable pursuits. Every shopping trip skipped was an afternoon reclaimed, an afternoon they could spend building wealth, deepening family bonds, or simply resting to restore energy. This attention to time and energy extends even to financial management itself. Millionaires often dedicate regular blocks of time to reviewing budgets, monitoring investments, and planning for the future. They treat their financial health with the same seriousness others might reserve for their careers or hobbies. By giving attention consistently, they prevent small problems from snowballing into crises. They know that an hour spent tracking expenses today might save them years of financial stress tomorrow. At the core of this mindset is a simple but profound realization. Wealth is built not just by managing money, but by managing life. Dollars matter, but they are multiplied or squandered depending on how you handle your hours and your energy. Millionaires live with this awareness. They do not let days slip by unnoticed, nor do they let their vitality be drained on pursuits that bring no return. They spend carefully not only with their checkbooks, but also with their calendars and their energy levels. So when we say that millionaires value frugality, we must remember that it extends beyond finances. They are frugal with time, frugal with commitments, frugal with energy. This threefold frugality applied to money, time, and energy. Guarding time like treasure. If money is precious, then time is priceless. Millionaires know this better than anyone. While money can be earned, invested, and multiplied, time can only be spent once. Every hour that passes is gone forever, which is why the wealthy learn to guard their time with a seriousness that surprises most people. They treat time like treasure, allocating it carefully, refusing to let it slip away through wasteful habits or obligations that serve no real purpose. One of the most striking findings from the research on millionaires was how deliberate they were about scheduling. Many of them blocked out hours each week to review finances, track spending, and plan for the future. They were not casual about money management. They were intentional. By setting aside time consistently, they ensured that they stayed on top of their goals. This simple habit, protecting an hour or two each week, was often the difference between families who accumulated millions and those who spent millions without ever saving. Millionaires also understand the hidden costs of wasting time. Consider shopping, one of the great American pastimes. For many households, weekends are consumed by mall visits, browsing stores, and impulse buying. But millionaires, on average, spent significantly fewer hours shopping than their non-wealthy peers. They viewed wandering aisles aimlessly as a poor return on their most limited resource. Instead, they bought what they needed quickly, often in bulk, and freed their hours for more valuable pursuits. Each shopping trip skipped was another afternoon available for work, family, learning, or rest. Guarding time also means avoiding the trap of appearances. Many non-wealthy professionals fill their calendars with social obligations designed to signal success. Lavish parties, dinners at expensive restaurants, membership in exclusive clubs. These activities may impress peers, but they drain both money and hours. Millionaires tend to decline such commitments unless they serve a meaningful purpose. They would rather spend an evening with family than at a banquet designed to show off. They would rather focus on deepening relationships or learning something new than chasing approval. Another strategy millionaires use is delegation. They understand the value of outsourcing tasks that consume hours without adding much value. For example, instead of spending weekends mowing the lawn or fixing minor household repairs, some hire help so they can dedicate that time to higher value activities. This is not about laziness, it's about efficiency. They ask themselves, is this the best use of my time? If the answer is no, and if they can afford it, they reallocate the task. They see their hours as assets that should be invested wisely, not squandered on chores that someone else can handle more efficiently. But protecting time isn't only about productivity, it's also about preservation. Millionaires recognize the importance of rest and recovery. They are often careful not to overschedule their days, leaving room for exercise, hobbies, and family time. This balance allows them to sustain their energy over decades, avoiding the burnout that comes from constant busyness. By resting deliberately, they preserve both their health and their ability to perform well in the long run. In this sense, their frugality with time mirrors their frugality with money. They avoid spending recklessly, they invest wisely, and they plan for the future. The ability to say no is a crucial part of guarding time. Many people struggle with this, fearing they will disappoint others or miss opportunities. But millionaires often credit their success to their discipline in refusing commitments that don't align with their goals. They decline invitations, skip unnecessary meetings, and walk away from distractions. Each no frees up space for a more valuable yes. They recognize that saying yes to everything means saying no to the things that matter most. For families, this discipline extends to how they raise their children. Millionaires often resist overscheduling their kids with endless activities. Instead, they prioritize quality time together, teaching values of discipline, responsibility, and respect for time. They know that the way children see their parents manage time will shape their own habits for life. By modeling intentionality, they pass down a culture of discipline that extends beyond money. In the end, guarding time like treasure is about perspective. Millionaires know that dollars matter, but minutes matter more. A dollar wasted can be earned again, but an hour wasted is gone forever. This truth shapes every choice they make, from the commitments they accept to the errands they skip to the people they spend their evenings with. They measure their wealth not just in dollars, but in the freedom of their calendars. And that freedom is worth more than any luxury purchase could ever provide. Choosing efficiency over status. One of the most important differences between millionaires and those who only look wealthy is how they value efficiency over status. For many people, decisions are filtered through the question, how will this look? But for millionaires, the guiding question is, how will this work? That simple shift in mindset changes everything, from the cars they drive, to the houses they buy, to the way they structure their daily routines. They prioritize function, durability, and return on investment while others chase appearances. Consider automobiles, one of the most visible symbols of success in American culture. Flashy cars are status machines. They announce wealth, or at least the illusion of it, to anyone on the road. Yet the data consistently show that millionaires rarely purchase luxury imports. The most common cars among them are practical brands like Toyota, Ford, or Honda. These vehicles are reliable, affordable, and efficient. They get their owners where they need to go, without draining thousands of extra dollars on depreciation, repairs, and insurance. To the millionaire mindset, a car is a tool, not a trophy. Housing tells the same story. Instead of buying the biggest home their income will allow, millionaires often settle into comfortable, modest neighborhoods. They value a safe community and functional space, not cathedral ceilings or zip codes meant to impress. Why? Because they understand that large houses come with large bills, higher mortgages, property taxes, heating costs, and maintenance. A modest house frees up capital that can be invested elsewhere, quietly compounding into real wealth. Even clothing decisions follow the efficiency principle. As we saw in earlier chapters, millionaires are not chasing labels. They wear clothes that last, that fit well enough, and that serve their needs. They focus on utility rather than visibility. They recognize that spending hundreds more on a suit or a pair of shoes adds little value to their lives. So they redirect that money into investments that do. In this way, efficiency extends beyond dollars to mindset, an automatic rejection of waste in favor of usefulness. This philosophy also influences how millionaires use their time. They avoid activities that are primarily about signaling status. Joining the most prestigious country club, for instance, may look impressive, but if it doesn't serve a purpose, such as building real business connections, it becomes another drain on resources. Instead, millionaires look for activities that deliver genuine returns. Learning new skills, deepening relationships, or building health. They aren't immune to leisure or enjoyment, but they choose those pursuits carefully, weighing whether they add lasting value to their lives. Efficiency over status also appears in how millionaires manage careers. Many of them chose industries that others might overlook. While prestige jobs like law or medicine often capture the public imagination, many millionaires built fortunes in quieter fields: plumbing, contracting, manufacturing, or running small service businesses. These areas may not turn heads at cocktail parties, but they can produce steady income and, with discipline, long-term wealth. Millionaires don't need the applause of society to validate their choices. They only need results. The key here is that efficiency frees resources. Every dollar not wasted on status symbols becomes an employee in the millionaire's army of investments. Every hour not spent chasing appearances becomes an opportunity to rest, learn, or grow. Over years and decades, these decisions create a compounding effect that builds freedom. It may not look glamorous in the moment, but it is powerful over time. Contrast this with the underaccumulators of wealth. These are the people who buy the biggest homes, lease the most expensive cars, and spend weekends maintaining appearances. To outsiders, they look successful, but the cost of maintaining that illusion is enormous. Their efficiency is low, their expenses are high, and their wealth never has a chance to grow. They are trapped in a cycle of spending for visibility rather than saving for independence. One millionaire captured this perfectly when he explained his philosophy. "I don't care what my neighbors think. I care what my balance sheet says. That statement reveals the heart of the millionaire mindset. It is not about winning the short-term game of appearances. It is about winning the long-term game of freedom, and the only way to win that game is to make choices rooted in efficiency, not status. So the next time you're faced with a decision, whether it's buying a car, choosing a home, or filling your calendar, ask yourself the millionaire's question. Does this serve me or does it just show me off? Answer honestly, and you may find that the path to wealth lies not in what others see, but in what quietly works best for you. Delegating and prioritizing millionaires understand a truth that many people overlook. You cannot do everything yourself, and not everything deserves to be done. The secret to building lasting wealth often lies not just in hard work, but in smart prioritization and the ability to delegate. Time and energy are too precious to waste on tasks that don't bring real value. This is why the wealthy become experts at identifying what matters most, focusing their efforts there, and letting go of the rest. Take the example of household chores. Many millionaires are perfectly capable of mowing their own lawns, cleaning their own homes, or handling small repairs. But they recognize that their time could often be better spent elsewhere. Whether that means running their businesses, nurturing family bonds, or simply resting to recharge. By outsourcing certain tasks, they buy back hours of their lives. This isn't laziness, it's strategy. They ask themselves, is this the best use of my time? If the answer is no, they find someone else who can handle it. This same principle applies in business. Successful entrepreneurs don't try to do everything themselves. They know their strengths and focus there. If they excel at building relationships with clients, they concentrate on that while delegating accounting or marketing to trusted professionals. If they thrive at product design, they find partners who can handle operations or sales. Delegation allows them to multiply their impact, turning a single person's energy into a team's collective power. But delegation alone isn't enough. Millionaires also excel at prioritization, choosing what deserves their attention and what does not. They live by the 80-20 principle, sometimes called the Pareto rule. Roughly 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. Instead of spreading themselves thin across dozens of minor tasks, they identify the handful of activities that deliver the biggest payoff and focus there relentlessly. This might mean spending more time on a handful of key clients rather than chasing every lead. It might mean dedicating energy to long-term investments instead of short-term pleasures. It might even mean saying no to opportunities that look good on the surface but don't align with their goals. Compare this with the behavior of underaccumulators of wealth. They often fall into the trap of busyness, filling their calendars with tasks and commitments that feel urgent but contribute little to their futures. They mow their own lawns not because they love it, but because they feel guilty outsourcing it. They obsess over appearances, volunteering for endless committees or social obligations, spreading themselves too thin. At the end of the day, they are exhausted, but their exhaustion hasn't brought them any closer to independence. Millionaires avoid this trap by ruthlessly distinguishing between activity and productivity. Another aspect of prioritization is the millionaire's focus on family and relationships. Many deliberately reduce commitments outside the home so they can invest more time in raising children and strengthening marriages. They understand that true wealth is not just financial, it is also relational. By prioritizing family over social competition, they protect the values that keep their financial habits strong across generations. Their children learn discipline and responsibility not through lectures, but through observing how their parents live. Delegating and prioritizing also extend to money management itself. Millionaires often hire financial advisors, accountants, or estate planners to handle complex details. But this doesn't mean they ignore their finances. On the contrary, they remain deeply involved in major decisions. They delegate tasks, not responsibility. This distinction matters. By surrounding themselves with experts, they free up time while still steering their financial ship with a steady hand. There is also a psychological benefit to this mindset. By delegating minor tasks, millionaires reduce stress and mental clutter. By prioritizing only the most meaningful activities, they create clarity and focus. This clarity helps them make better decisions, both financially and personally. Instead of being pulled in 100 directions, they move deliberately in the ones that matter most. Ultimately, delegating and prioritizing are acts of frugality, not just with money but with time and energy. Millionaires treat these resources with the same care they treat their investments. They refuse to waste them on tasks that don't align with their goals. They understand that saying yes to one thing means saying no to something else, and they choose carefully what gets their attention. The lesson here is powerful. You don't have to do everything, and you shouldn't try. Wealth is built not by exhausting yourself, but by focusing yourself. Millionaires become rich not because they chase every opportunity, but because they choose the right op. The discipline of daily choices. Wealth is rarely the product of a single big decision. More often, it is the cumulative result of thousands of small choices made consistently over decades. Millionaires know this truth intimately. They understand that the path to independence is paved with daily discipline. Decisions about how to spend time, how to use energy, and how to manage money in ways that seem ordinary in the moment but add up to extraordinary outcomes. Consider something as simple as lunch. Many underaccumulators of wealth fall into the habit of eating out daily, spending $10, $15, or $20 at a time. It doesn't seem like much, but multiplied across a year, the cost is staggering. Millionaires, by contrast, often pack lunches or choose modest meals. They view every dollar saved not as deprivation, but as fuel for investment. That money, redirected consistently, compounds into tens of thousands over time. This single daily habit becomes a building block of fortune. The same principle applies to how they use their hours. Millionaires are careful with daily routines. They dedicate specific time to reviewing finances, reading, exercising, or working on projects that matter most. Instead of drifting through their days, they impose structure. They may wake early, set aside time for planning, or avoid wasting evenings on unproductive activities. These habits do not make headlines, but they compound just like interest. A single wasted hour may not matter, but wasted hours accumulated over years erode the foundation of wealth. Millionaires avoid this erosion by making each day intentional. Energy management is another arena where discipline shows. Many people exhaust themselves with commitments that bring no lasting value. They attend social events out of obligation, spend hours arguing online, or chase distractions that sap vitality. Millionaires are far more protective. They avoid overcommitting, they exercise to maintain health, and they ensure their energy is directed toward the things that matter most: business, family, and personal growth. By conserving and directing their energy daily, they maintain the stamina required to build and preserve wealth over the long haul. Another critical area of daily discipline is impulse control. Advertisements and peer pressure constantly encourage spending on the latest gadgets, clothes, vacations, or luxury items. Millionaires resist these urges not through willpower alone, but through habit. They have trained themselves to pause before purchases, to ask whether the item aligns with their values, and to consider what else that money could do if invested. This small pause, just a few seconds of reflection, creates a firewall between them and the traps of consumer culture. Over years, that pause saves fortunes. It's worth noting that discipline doesn't mean joyless living. Millionaires are not monks renouncing pleasure. Rather, they choose pleasures strategically. They might skip daily luxuries to afford meaningful experiences, a family trip, a home improvement that increases comfort, or a celebration of a milestone. They find joy not in constant indulgence, but in intentional indulgence. The difference is that their spending is planned, aligned with priorities, and sustainable. This makes their enjoyment deeper and freer of regret. Daily choices also extend to how millionaires raise their children. They model discipline by teaching kids about budgeting, encouraging them to earn allowances through chores, and discouraging impulsive consumption. They avoid spoiling them with endless gifts, knowing that discipline learned early translates into independence later. These small family practices, repeated daily, ensure that the next generation inherits not just money, but the habits needed to sustain it. In contrast, underaccumulators often live by default rather than by design. Their daily habits are reactive. They grab fast food because it's convenient, swipe credit cards without thought, and scroll endlessly through screens while time slips away. Millionaires see the same temptations but choose differently, again and again, one small decision at a time. The lesson here is powerful. Wealth is less about grand strategies and more about small consistencies. Pack the lunch, review the budget, skip the impulse buy. Spend an hour reading instead of scrolling. Say no to the unnecessary invitation. Rest when you need to recharge. Each action, on its own, may seem trivial, but together over years they create the gap between those who struggle financially and those who achieve freedom. Millionaires know that discipline is destiny. Their fortunes are not accidents, but the predictable result of thousands of disciplined daily choices. Anyone can follow the same path, not through luck, not through extraordinary talent, but through the ordinary power of consistent habits. Building wealth through focus. If there is one trait that sets millionaires apart from the rest, it is focus. They know what matters, and they give their best time, energy, and money to those priorities. While others scatter their resources across dozens of distractions, millionaires concentrate on a few core goals. This laser-like focus transforms ordinary incomes into extraordinary fortunes, not through luck, but through consistency and clarity of purpose. Focus begins with clarity. Millionaires have a clear sense of what they are working toward: financial independence, security for their families, or the freedom to live life on their own terms. Because their goals are specific, their choices become simpler. Every decision can be measured against the question, does this move me closer to my goal or farther away? That single filter eliminates countless temptations. The latest gadget, the flashy car, the oversized home, if these don't serve the larger purpose, they are quietly set aside. This clarity also shapes how they use their time. Millionaires focus their hours on the activities with the highest payoff. For entrepreneurs, that might mean strengthening relationships with clients, improving services, or innovating products. For professionals, it might mean investing in skills, expanding networks, or advancing careers strategically. They do not let their calendars be overrun with trivial tasks. Instead, they carve out protected time for the work that matters most, defending it from interruptions with almost ruthless discipline. The same principle applies to energy. Millionaires know that energy is limited, so they avoid scattering it across endless obligations. They don't say yes to every invitation or chase every trend. They choose carefully, conserving their energy for activities aligned with their priorities. Their focus protects them from burnout and ensures that their energy is invested where it yields the highest returns. Financial focus is equally powerful. Millionaires tend to concentrate on a few key investment strategies rather than spreading themselves thin across every opportunity. They might favor index funds, real estate, or their own businesses, but whatever they choose, they commit with discipline. They don't chase fads or gamble on get-rich-quick schemes. Instead, they stick with proven methods, compounding wealth steadily over time. Their portfolios may look boring to outsiders, but their results are far from boring. Contrast this with underaccumulators of wealth. They lack focus. Their money goes in a dozen directions: credit card balances, oversized mortgages, car payments, vacations, gadgets, memberships, and status symbols. Their time is consumed by busyness, social events, shopping, and obligations that serve appearances. Their energy is scattered across countless distractions. Because nothing is prioritized, nothing grows. They live in constant motion but make little progress. One millionaire described his philosophy in simple terms: I do less, but I do it better. That statement captures the essence of focus. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things consistently. It's about building momentum in a few chosen areas until results compound. Over years, this creates a widening gap between those who are scattered and those who are focused. Focus also strengthens resilience. Because millionaires are clear about their priorities, they are less likely to be shaken by setbacks. If a business deal fails or an investment dips, they don't panic. They recalibrate, learn, and continue on their focused path. Their clarity shields them from being thrown off course by short-term noise. They see the bigger picture, and they stay the course. In family life, focus appears as intentional parenting. Millionaires don't try to give their children every toy, every experience, or every opportunity. Instead, they focus on instilling values: discipline, responsibility, and respect for money. They know that giving children everything dilutes lessons, while focusing on a few core values strengthens character. This intentional approach ensures that wealth is not just built, but sustained across generations. Ultimately, focus is the thread that weaves together time, energy, and money. Millionaires guard their time, conserve their energy, and direct their dollars with one overarching aim: freedom. They avoid scattering themselves on distractions that promise applause today, but steal independence tomorrow. Their lives may appear simple from the outside, but behind that simplicity lies extraordinary clarity. The lesson is clear. If you want to build wealth, you must learn to focus. Decide what matters most. Align your time, energy, and money with those priorities. Cut out the noise, the distractions, the temptations that pull you away from your goals. Do less, but do it better. Over years, that focus will turn ordinary choices into extraordinary freedom. That wraps up Chapter 3, Time, Energy, and Money. In the next chapter, we'll take a closer look at how millionaires raise their children and pass on values that protect wealth across generations. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss Chapter 4. You aren't what you drive.